mute with a calm composure, breaking it down from every exposure. Then there's Matt from the left, he hails Democrat dreams in his sails, pushing for change in his every word. On the air, every voice is heard.
Hey gang, it's Friday. Lunchtime happy hour. Gentlemen, we got Blake the Homeless Conservative, Matt Deemer from Daily Crypto News, and the Democratic nominee for Congress, 7th District of Ohio. Good afternoon, guys. Or morning for Blake still, actually.
Technically for one more hour, yes. I'm in Central Time Zone.
Good morning, people. Good, happy lunch. What are you drinking this morning?
I stopped with the coffee for right now and just opened up a Gatorade. I did not do a weekend cocktail yet, although I've been talking about it. A guy I might be dating is a wine guy and a whiskey guy. And so I told him about the flavored whiskeys that are in my freezer. He says, I'll be right over.
So basically you're trying to look for a wine sugar daddy? Is that what you're trying to?
He's actually younger, and that's kind of my thing too, is legal.
Oh,
You're listening to 1490 AM, WWPR, Bradenton.
Well, we got to stop that.
Just in case we forgot where we're at, there's our what we call our Rush Limbaugh wannabe. There's some sports guy, or I don't know who that is.
So wait a minute. Going back to that, you're the Leonardo DiCaprio of the Secret Service. Is that what you're saying? If he's over 25, you stop dating him?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The Leonardo DiCaprio.
We're actually neighbors down in Belize.
I'm drinking water out of my avalanche cup.
Is that a John McAfee reference?
No, we're seriously. He is. Oh, that's all right, Phil. Thanks. It was kind of funny that it jumps in.
Station identification.
PR just sent us a message. I guess we should do that too. 1490 and 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta. We're not live there yet. That's coming. And that's why Phil from WWPR is still joining us at the board today, was because Sirius Streaming is failing us miserably. That's the company that many different radio stations use to simulcast and allow us, folks like us, to work from home, preventing me from driving the huge distance down the street, actually, to Bradenton. But yeah, so what was I just answering? No, he's not a. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll do that too, Phil. That's actually part. I actually put that into the introduction today, which I still got to get to. 1-888-88 Yergs. 1-888-88 YERGZ. Once we finally do get talking and you want to join, that is the number to call into, not the actual station that you're getting this from. So,
because I know everybody on the radio is so curious about your dating life. We better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Belize, he owns an island down there, very close to an island that I'm on. So there's that.
See, he owns an island.
Yes, he owns.
So wait, so you do. So you got yourself a sugar baby. You have a young wine sugar baby. That's what it is.
I am on a 60 by 90 piece of ground with a bunch of neighbors real close to me. He's out there in the water somewhere, and some people say they know where he's at. And yeah, I kind of have an idea.
This is definitely sounding like some CIA shady stuff right here going on. You guys keep it down there in Belize. We'll be over here. Blake, let's keep it down. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got a clip for today. Our first clip on the show. So today, Howard Stern and the Trump on Trump and abortion. And then, of course, we'll do a quick update on the Trump trial. Trump and PECKER. No, we're not using vulgar language. That is the guy that's been testifying all week on actual election interference. And then Biden signs a foreign aid package that we've been talking about. And right before we went live, I was being grilled about a Secret Service agent that was arrested. And it turns out that's not what happened. But
not really arrested. Yeah.
But he was handcuffed.
Yeah.
Or she, actually. To be clear, or she.
It
The
was a
ICP
she.
has not been out, and I've been putting the feelers out. And most of my colleagues are like me now. We're all retired.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. And then finally, capital gains will now be up to 44.6%.
Well, that's what they want to do, but
That's what they want to do.
it hasn't. I mean, it's to pass Congress.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the picture for the link that you sent us, Matt, and it looked like he was signing it.
No, that's
So-
just
so-
his plans.
Yeah, so you got to read the articles too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of. I'm a picture kind of guy. You know,
I got it. I got it.
I've got my pack of crayons right here in the drawer. And,
No, see what that one is. Yeah, but the presidents usually put out proposals like this, and then they, just make recommendations and basically signal what the administration wants out of Congress. We can get in that a little later.
Proposal for the 2025 budget essentially is what.
Right. If
which
there's a big if there.
Not a chance, but
which is something we actually haven't had in like 40 years.
What's that?
An actual budget.
on time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Technically,
continuing resolution for how many generations now?
it's only been 30 years, Yergs. Don't exaggerate.
Not 40. I lost count.
That's actually the last time we had a balanced budget. Sorry, but really,
Bill.
I think the last time we got a budget in on time was 2002. I'm pretty sure. Don't totally quote me on that, but it's been a long time.
Yeah. So Howard Stern had this to say about. I got to make sure that all this is actually up before I go playing stuff, and it doesn't work. I don't want to actually be like Howard Stern. I want my stuff to work. Okay, let me know if you guys hear this.
The guy I knew doesn't, I didn't know this was him. I don't believe his stance on abortion, for example. The Donald I know, I think he probably needed to get a few people abortions. I don't know what he's doing. The stance on abortion, the women don't have the right to choose what they, you don't have to get an abortion.
Here comes a
But
good
if you
point.
want the right, I remember the days of women in the back alleys with coat hangers. That's not acceptable. And you know who used to be able to get abortions? Rich people. They could get them. And so, the guy
there we go. So yeah,
I mean, that's a very standard talking point of basically the realistic nature of when you ban something and make something illegal, you're going to get it from somewhere. People want things, and if you want an abortion, if you want drugs, if you want whatever you're going to get. And when they did prohibition with alcohol, you're cooking it up in your bathtub. The fact is if the more you ban things and you don't have legal ways of safe ways to get the thing that people want, and especially if there's a market for it, people will get it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Howard in the sense that Donald Trump has zero principles. I don't believe for a second he's anti or pro anything other than himself. Does that make sense? Like, I think he doesn't have any guiding principles. He doesn't have any, which is why I've never liked him. He's not actually a conservative at all. He's not you look at it's just what he says goes now in the Republican Party, even if it's not something. So his abortion stance is changed with the winds because he had to be pro-life in 2016. Now that it might be electorally bad for him, he's shifting, and he's like he's trying to claim credit for the Dobbs ruling, but he's also trying to distance himself from it. Biden's doing the same thing with other issues. It's like they're both trying to speak to two different groups without realizing that each one can hear what they say to the other group. And so I mean, I'm with Howard in the sense that Donald Trump has no guiding principles whatsoever. I don't believe for a second he's pro trade or pro life or like it's just whatever he needs at the time.
I also think that you don't have to, if you and a spouse become pregnant, whether you're the female or the male in the relationship, and you decide you want to keep the baby, even though it wasn't planned, that's your decision.
Yeah, but we can have a national discussion about where should it be illegal. First of all, the misconception that Dobbs made abortion illegal is wrong, and people don't often understand what actually happened.
It certainly opened up floodgates, and it did a level of protection.
Well, Matt, how did it make it illegal? It sounds like you're disagreeing.
I'm disagreeing because people use that as a way to downplay the effects that it has on individuals within this country, which is 52% of the population. And so by kicking it back down to the states that had trigger laws already in place, which everybody knew about, you basically disenfranchise, or not, wrong word, but a form of disenfranchisement of a lot of people with their healthcare choices. And so to say that it didn't make it illegal, wait,
Okay,
you asked the
go on.
question. To make you say it didn't make it illegal because it wasn't a national ban didn't mean that people in, say, states that had these trigger laws did not have to go through or get, be affected with their healthcare choices. So yeah, it's kind of like, that's just
No,
a,
but
that's
it's
just a
not
that's just a
true. It's
silly
not
talking
true.
point, in my opinion.
That
Hold
talking
on
point
one
is
second.
so
Hold on.
bad though about that because
Hold on
it's
one second, though, Blake. Hold on. There's one thing that Matt did say that he kind of retracted. I'm going to put back out because it is about disenfranchising people within their own state.
Oh, but hold on. This language.
Arizona said you can drive like three hours to get an abortion. Well, what happens when that woman is going to be dead in 3 hours?
Well, that's different. There's already exceptions for all that kind of stuff.
Have you, not in Arizona.
Arizona already changed that law. It'll pass in the Senate. So my point is, you're right. There was
I know what you're talking about. They did, and that's why I put that on today. I just didn't include the link about Arizona.
So here's the point.
Have you ever driven in Arizona? I have.
Yeah.
That is an ugly, hot, big state.
It's not as bad as New Mexico. Let's be
much
fair.
much love Arizona and New Mexico. We're not saying anything bad about your states. Continue, Blake.
Just born and directed.
Really, Yergs. You got to be more sensitive.
My problem with all of this is that we're not really having the debate at all about abortion in this country.
Oh, yeah,
what we're doing is we're taking fringes on both sides. We're really not. Look, because both sides. Here's what I'm saying.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
The Arizona thing, for example, I agree. It's silly that we had to go back to a law written in the 1800s, but keep in mind that that's how laws work.
That same law also allows for a lot of other things we probably don't want to talk about on the show.
Here's my problem with laws. They exist for forever until someone repeals them. That's how laws work, okay? So if these legislators, if they think that that's a stupid law to have on the books, then take it off the freaking books. This is not complicated. The court got it right in the sense that that was the law that was still the law on the books. That's what the courts are supposed to do. Was the law ridiculous? Sure. We can all agree that we can say that that's ridiculous. That's why the legislature has now said they've changed it. They're going to make it a 15-week ban. And it's passed the House and has to go to the Senate, I guess, and will assumably be, signed by the governor. Okay. So that's worked itself out. That's what should be happening. That's the system working. That is state legislatures getting together and thinking about their constituencies and coming up with things. 15-week abortion ban, by the way, that's what Europe, that everyone thinks they have these super lax laws. That's where most of their laws end, is that 55% of Americans don't think you should have abortions in the second trimester. So we need to actually have this discussion. And the problem is we're just not. We are.
And where do you stand, Blake?
I mean, the thing is, I think that both.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Come on, Blake.
Here's the
thing.
Come on. I think both sides have a really bad problem at vilifying the other side as being evil. I think that the pro-life, if you're hardcore pro-life, they think that everyone just wants to kill babies on the left. And if you're on the left, you think everyone that's pro-life has racist motivations, misogynistic, despite, most of the supporters of pro-life being women, and I think that the vilification of the intent behind them is one thing that's got to go. Where I'm at is that I am pro-life in the sense that I think it is ending a life when you have an abortion. And it would behoove the left to at least admit that. Bill Maher last week on his show said as much. Yes, I think it's killing babies, and I'm just okay with that at a certain degree. Okay?
Then you have to credit the Catholic Church for being against condoms.
Right. I don't want to get into the birth control thing, because birth control is totally different.
But those little swimmers.
See, the thing is, you're right. Is like we are getting into this birth control thing. We are getting into a lot of different aspects, because here's the thing, and Bill Maher did also say that what he doesn't like about the right stance on this is that if you think it's killing somebody, if you think it's murder, why are you always wishy-washy on the weeks? Oh, is it 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 10 weeks or now what? I'm okay with this murder and not that murder. So it's like you take a stance. If you're against it, kicking it back.
Or the fact that once they're born, there's somebody else's problem.
Yeah, but here's that's the motivated reasoning that I don't like, though, Yergs, is that you're saying that pro-life people don't care about babies once they're born. and that's not
That's
fair.
That's
not fair.
true.
You're saying
I agree that's not fair.
Care about
Honestly.
babies. That's
No,
not true.
I'm in Florida.
That's fine.
Florida. I adopted my son that I love with all my life, but I'm behind on my mortgage. I'm trying to get him into college. We're not getting any of the financial aid that Ron DeSantis promised us.
Here's my point.
They don't care. He talked a good game to get elected and then waved bye-bye.
So
we got to get you some of that island wine money. It gets you that mortgage up to date, bro.
I just don't like that both sides do this to both sides, and it's ridiculous. I don't think everyone on the left that's pro-choice is evil or that they have evil motivations and want to kill babies. And I don't think everyone on pro-life doesn't care about babies once they're born. I think that's a ridiculous notion.
Well, find me someone who does, because I need their help.
Look, it is killing a baby. That's like the fact is, if you don't intervene, that would turn into a baby, which would turn into a toddler and turn into a teenager and turn into an adult.
That's like that Bill Burr joke about baking the cake, and somebody comes in and takes the cake out the oven, throws it against the wall, and it's like, "Why'd you mess with cake?" It's like, it wasn't a cake. You guys don't remember that joke? But that doesn't matter. No. Anyway.
True. So here's my point.
I'm trying to prove your point here, Blake. I was helping you out.
Yeah, I get the joke now because it wasn't a cake because it wasn't out of the oven yet.
Watch the Beer Blur joke. Hey, Yorks, what's your phone number to call again? 188 what?
1-888-88 YERGZ.
So that's 1-888-88 YERGZ. That's great because somebody has to have an opinion on this. I want them to call because I'm curious what other people say. But wait a minute, Blake.
Yeah.
The issue thing is with this is, in my opinion, is I agree that we could have more conversations about this, but the conversations has been had in the courts. It wasn't like they just made the law and then nobody challenged it. It's not like it never went to the Supreme Court again. It's not like it never went to court or the appeals court, and different cases have come up. From the 70s until the overturning of Dobbs, this has been challenged. This has been refined. And then it says, oh, wait a minute, we have a states' rights. This isn't about abortion and about the legal challenges and the precedent has ever set. This is about saying, okay, we want to figure out how to get these trigger laws. This is a strategy and not about the what we're talking about. And you're saying is, making precedent. And so when it does get kicked back down to the states and you're saying this conversation, now we have 50 conversations. So it's not about an absolute morality. It's not about a nationwide standard of morality. We're talking about 50 different opinions about 50 different things that affect 52% of the population, which I do think is wrong.
Well, so what do you think there should be a national? I mean, so
we had it.
No. Roe was bad law.
We had it.
Look, even liberal legal scholars would say that is bad law. That was the courts making up a law based on nothing that was there. That is not what the Supreme Court is supposed to do. They are supposed to interpret the law. That was the Supreme Court making up law. And
they're doing what's called legislating from the bench.
That is not okay. Roe was bad law, whether you agree with it or not. There are plenty of people that say, I am pro-choice, but Roe was bad law. I think Roe needed to go. I think that we can talk about, should this be a federal thing? Should this be a states thing? I am on the fence there. I don't really, I tend to be more federalist in the sense that I like states to figure this kind of stuff out, just because I think that that's what the whole country was kind of built upon. And generally, if it's not in the Constitution as something specifically assigned to Congress to do, I don't think they should be doing it. I think they've crept way too much into a lot of the states' rights. So I'm okay with that. But Arizona is a great example of what should happen in this situation. Yes. Go ahead.
Two comments. Let me say with you, because I'm gonna throw you a little bone here, and I'm gonna agree with you a couple of things. Number one, Congress and legislators across the whole country, state legislators in the U.S. Congress, needs to get their heads out their butt and start actually repealing a lot of these old laws that are on the books and consolidating this and making it a lot simpler for everybody. I think that is 100% true, and a lot of people are starting to ask that, why do we have all these laws in the books and nobody because even over here in Ohio, we had laws that are on the books about election laws that haven't been actually put into place for a long time. Somebody then finally that was savvy enough looked through the laws and was like, oh, we have a law for that. Let's start going after people for it. And it was kind of weird, So it's
happening all over the place like that, Matt. You're right. It's happening at the federal level. We're seeing presidents take advantage of laws that are obscure and they're using it for ways that they weren't originally meant for. We have situations in this abortion stuff where you've got
presidential immunity.
Because for years, Republicans, and really what this boils down to is that Republicans had no game plan for this. They've been trying to get Roe reversed for 50 years, and it happens, and it's like they were the dog that caught the
They
car.
caught the car,
and they're
exactly.
idiots.
Yeah.
Like literally, the fact that they even got a heads up. We got this thing released, to the press months before the actual decision came down. You think they would have gotten together and been like, we've got to be on the same page.
I don't
They're
know
not.
about you in your state, but we did in Ohio. What they did in Ohio is they made a trigger law that as soon as it actually became official,
Right.
banned abortion at 6 weeks. So yeah, they got their stuff together, but not in the way that Ohio wanted, and that's why you saw 57% of the vote codified
Yeah,
into
but-
our legislation. But my second bone I want to throw you, Blake, really quick, was that I am really sick. And you said you don't want this to be a federal decision. You don't want Congress to make these laws. Fine, sure, we can also have the discussion. But I'm really sick of these kind of things, these very heated, very polarizing, very money-making conversations be used to polarize, to raise money, and not get decided in Congress, even if they could be. We saw this with Roe, and we dropped the ball back in the first term of, or the first 2 years of Obama's administration. And we are seeing this with a lot of different things when it comes to border security. What did Trump just say? Hey, guys, don't even make a law about this because I want to use it for raising money in my platform. And so this is not new. And honestly, I think it's a shame about American legislators and Congress that we don't actually get things done. It sucks.
But here's your point is great.
Hold on, my turn. No, hold on.
Okay, go. Yeah.
Matt, you were talking about how there were elections in Ohio that put laws probably not on your favor in the books. They also just elected or voted to protect choice in the Constitution, and the Republican-led legislature is completely ignoring it.
Well, now we could talk. Yeah, Ohio's threshold for changing their state constitution is a little crazy to me. The fact that it's just like literally a majority can change it. But yeah, it's that
why is that crazy? Why is majority crazy to you conservative people? I don't understand.
I think a 50% plus one to change a state constitution feels like more majority rule and not like actual consensus. I feel like you should have a super majority to change a constitution. I feel like that's a pretty good. Not for a law, but for actually change the Constitution.
My whole thing about that then is if that's not what you want, don't put that into place in the first place.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying that seems a little bit like too low of a threshold for me. And this is not a Republican thing. This is like, I think that form of government, I don't think we should have majority rule on everything. I think that there are some things like we need to go, no, we really need to have a super majority that says this is what we should do. And we've done that throughout all the constitutional changes. I think that all the things that we got behind, like
all the federal constitutional changes.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, I think the states could
on one case, exactly. In one case, you're saying leave it to the states, and all of a sudden, you want to help out a state that you don't even live in.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying if I live, I would say it, I'm just saying it's a little crazy. I'm not saying they need to change it, or I'm going to federally force them to change it. I'm just saying, but like let the states be whoever they want to be.
What is it in Oklahoma or wherever you are
for like changing the Constitution?
Right.
It's super majority. It's the same kind of process as federally. So it either has to have a like 2/3, I think, of the houses, or it has to be I think there can be a petition kind of thing.
And in Florida, it's 60%, I think. But remember, the Ohio's constitution isn't I think the same as like a general guidelines. It's more of like the law and legislate. Like it's a big book of what we do here, right? And so it's like when you're passing things, it's not we're just creating like the United States Constitution, where it's like the building block foundation of what everything else is built on. It's more of like, hey, this is the law now.
Yeah, it feels like it could swing too much if you're 50% plus one. But that's aside, Matt. The point you made, Matt, about like this being a fundraising thing, you're right. For 50 years, it was a thing that Democrats and Republicans could fundraise on without ever actually doing anything about. They could just give lip service to the thing. I think what you're seeing on the right is a bunch of people that were pro-life in, Carrie Lake is a great example since we're talking about Arizona. A couple years ago, she was
spanked
full-throated, but all of a sudden now that like the rubber has to meet the road, you actually have to do stuff, and your election will actually, hinge on these issues. Everyone's kind of backing off of the rhetoric that they said before because they're realizing, oh, we're going to actually, like, people are going to expect us to do stuff or pass laws or actually, figure out where those thresholds are and stuff. And I think you're right, Matt. It was a huge fundraising thing. I think there were a bunch of grifters on the right specifically that were claiming to be pro-life, but now that the rubber has to meet the road, they're not so much. And so
and that's why Trump's inflation policy is drill baby drill. That's like, it's like, hey, what are you gonna do about inflation? Drill baby drill.
But
No
I think
policy.
this is working. I think we are having the discussion.
What's time's up? Jurgen, are you telling us to shut the hell up?
Yes, time's up. You see that, like the little visual I added this
I like
week?
it.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like it. It's offensive, Jurgs.
Lefties.
Offended by
I'm
everything.
offended. I'm gonna go.
It's my way to jump in, because I noticed that a couple weeks ago that every time I jump in to try to change a topic and get you guys to wrap up, it sounds really bad.
Oh no.
No, it's just like a lot of static. I guess that's me. I guess that's what my voice is.
Well,
But-
when we talk over each other, is that you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
So another quick one. Basically, I'm just going to say it how I want to say. This PECKER guy is. I mean, he must hate his dad. Oh, there's Charlie's boy. Oh, the little.
The little Pecker.
Yeah.
There's Big Pecker and Little Pecker. Pecker Jr.
That there's actually was election interference in 2016, and it was by Trump.
I'm still not sold on that this is election interference in the sense that, like, I'm still someone make the case for me, Jurgs, that paying someone for an NDA essentially is election interference. If it wasn't with campaign, because you're saying if it's with private funds, it's election interference. If it was with campaign funds, they'd be mad too. So how do you tell someone, and like, this is totally normal, by the way, right? That people pay people to not, like, this is just an NDA, right? There's nothing illegal about an NDA. Do we agree with that?
It's a contract.
Right. Is there anything illegal about it?
Yeah. No, I think it what has to be apparently the because I saw the gist that I got from the interview from Anderson Cooper of the Playboy Playmate.
Yeah, McDougal, right?
Was that she wanted to tell the story.
Right.
And when she found out that she was going to be giving the story to the Inquirer,
yeah,
who then refused to publish it,
yeah, catch and kill is what they call it. Yeah.
She felt like she had no outlet to go to, and that's not what she wanted.
Right, but don't you have to get that in your contract to say you got to run this story, or else
that's not what happened. She made that deal with the premise that the Inquirer was going to run the story,
but it wasn't in the contract. I'm just saying they bought the rights to tell the story and then chose to shelve it. This happens all the time. I'm not saying it's okay. It's not illegal.
No, and what's not legal about that is what people don't understand about the business law is that if I tell you that I'm going to pay you $100 an episode to be on here with me every week, and now we just recorded that's your contract.
Yeah, but that's not. I don't think that's how this contract works. But specifically, what's illegal about that, though?
But what I'm getting about that is that you're talking about what's in the written contract that everybody's going to show in court. What about its intent and the verbal communication that was put in with it?
Right, but why is it illegal? That you could sue, but you could sue the Inquirer for the money back or to run the story. But it's not illegal. It's civil.
When you go and do that with the intention of affecting an election,
this happens all the time in every election, all the time. What's the difference in paying someone?
That just because it happens every 4 years doesn't make it legal.
No, but it's not illegal. Like that's my point. Is that, and keep in mind, I want to reiterate, I am not defending Trump. I just think that these charges specifically are bogus. Because no one can convince me that they're illegal.
He's not being charged with making the bribe. He's being charged with finagling his bank records.
Because
that's very illegal.
But how? But first of all,
that's very illegal. You can't say that your campaign funds were used to pay a lawyer and then not pay a lawyer.
He did. He did not use campaign funds. There's absolutely not what happened. It was not. It was a personal check. It was not campaign funds. That's the facts, Jurgs. He did not use campaign funds. If he would have used campaign funds, can you imagine the tizzy we'd be in if he paid off a porn star with campaign funds? That
That's
would
what he's
be
doing.
a
That's what
campaign
he's
finance
doing
problem.
now. That's what he's doing now to pay his attorneys.
Well, but that's different. They're from PACs. That's okay. I mean, I think it's wrong. I think it's incredibly wrong, but it's not illegal.
Not when you put your daughter-in-law in charge of the Republican National Convention.
Well, that's
And
unfortunately
she
how
goes-
party politics are. I think it's incredibly gross, but it's not
she
illegal.
goes on, and she goes on social media begging for $5 a person. I got this meme of the old school Leonard Nimoy Spock.
Yeah.
Saying a billionaire should not be asking you for money. It's not logical. He's
Right.
either lying about being a billionaire or lying about needing your money.
Well, he's grifting people. He'd rather other people pay his legal expenses than him. And people are idiots for giving him the money, knowing that it's going to go towards his legal expenses. I mean, that's what the majority of all this money that goes to the Republican National Convention or to Trump or to, honestly, he's now even asking it from other people running. If they use his name or likeness at all in their campaigns, he's asking for a kickback from that too. It's incredibly gross. None of it is illegal though. And until someone can tell me, or I think that you should be able to sit down 10 people in a room, and I think they should be able to be Trump supporters or whatever. But I mean, I think you should be able to plainly explain what happened here. And no one has ever plainly explained to me why this is illegal beyond the misdemeanor falsification of business records, which, by the way, is past the statute of limitations. And Alvin Bragg's trying to connect it to a felony that doesn't exist. This is a sham prosecution. Now, I think the best thing that can come out of it is like, I don't mind the salacious details coming out because I think they're gross. And I think the American people should also think they're gross. So I think that's the only thing that can come out of this. I don't think that there's any.
And
Yeah.
this week on Non-Lawyers Talk About Law, Lunchtime Happy Hour.
Right, but I mean, my point is a lawyer should be able to explain this to me. And I've not found one article that explains in a convincing way why this is illegal.
They just throw something out there.
I think they like the cloud that covers it. They like the obscurity.
Of course, but I mean, that's not how the law should work. It should be plain and simple. We should, going back to Matt's point about we should be getting rid of some of these laws. This is a great example of, I think laws should be clear. There should be enough that we should be able to know what the laws are, because it's, our rights is, it's our job as citizens to know the law so that we can know how to follow it. The law is too big. It's too complicated. They're using these obscure little things to go after people for, this. And this isn't just happening to Trump, by the way. This happens to regular citizens as well when we talk about a civil asset forfeiture. Yeah, it happens to lots of people. And so I think we should clarify law. I think if nothing else, this should teach us that like laws should be clear. Everyone should be able to understand them.
Right.
Obvious why Trump is being charged and what he did was illegal. And this is too many threads and too many things. I think, the documents case is very straightforward. It is, he was not allowed to have these documents. He knew that, and he had them anyway and tried to obscure that. And he lied to the, that's plain and simple. What he did was illegal. We can explain that to any person, and I think they'd go, yeah, that follows. Because the only excuse I ever hear for Trump on the document stuff is, well, they didn't prosecute Hillary. Yeah, that's a fair point, except that doesn't mean what Trump did was legal. It just means
so can I just say that you have a theme there when you're saying this. You said the documents case, because one person did it and somebody else didn't do it, or doesn't mean that it's legal or illegal. And the same thing is you're saying, like, is it legal? I think that we keep using legality and in place of morality or what should be illegal or not. And by saying that if it's not legal or if it's legal, therefore somebody has the right to do it. And I think that a lot of times in this case, because it might be legal, doesn't mean that this person should be doing these things. And that's where I think we have a failure of Congress and we have a failure of the Supreme Court in not nipping this in the bud. Going back to what we said earlier, is striking some of these laws or making these very, very abstract or obfuscated laws more clear. And so
because I think what Trump did was gross. I think every bit of this is gross. I just don't think any of it's illegal. And there's just a big difference to me. And like, if it's gross, we should be smart enough to not elect him again, right? But that's a different discussion than let's throw him in jail.
Like, why are you so funny today? Gross. He's like, it's just so gross.
It is gross. It's disgusting behavior, right? I mean, I think we all agree it's disgusting behavior, but unfortunately, there's nothing illegal about sleeping with a porn star when your wife's at home with a newborn baby and then paying her off for it.
Oh, but see, there is actually on the Republican side because we have family values.
Well, I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Lauren Boebert.
Who's there?
Oh my God.
The right has no conservatives. I don't even. I don't know how you even describe the MAGA crowd. People in the Republican Party who claim to have like that morals matter never get to say that again if they support Donald Trump. That's just the simple fact of the matter. They were right about Bill Clinton. Look, I think the left needs to own up to the fact that the right was actually correct about Bill Clinton's gross behavior. Again, I'll say gross because diddling a 22-year-old intern when you're the president of the United States is
with a cigar
is absolutely disgusting behavior that the left said, oh, we should move on. It's his sex life. It doesn't matter. And I think after the Me Too movement, we'll see that that's really bad behavior. And it was taking advantage of his power and all sorts of things. And I think conservatives were right then, but they can't claim that anymore because they like Donald Trump.
Right. Agreed. All right. Next up, Biden signs.
Don't you have to take your break?
We got one coming. Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, before we move to another topic, and we just talk about how gross it is.
All right, gang. 1490 WWPR, 99.1 WDJY, and Yerg's Radio. We'll be back after this. Let's get some video clips up here. Here you go. Ready for a candle? Smell nasty. Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's. I'm burning right now leather-scented candle. That's right, leather-scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yerg's and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey gang, it's Yergs. Right now, our country is about to embark on yet another controversial presidential election. I have an actual question, legitimate question, as a political scientist and historian by education. If you are a Trump supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your appeal to Donald Trump is at this time. Please email me news, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com. News, N-E-W-Z, at YERGZ.com. Thanks. Participants must be willing to provide their contact information, answer a series of questions, and then have their first name broadcast over the radio and social media relevant to Up the Middle. Hey, gang, I'm back. We'll bring the other guys back in a minute. Just want to tell you about some others that you can get by going to, you can get information on everything you just heard by going to yergz.com, YERGZ. I think I got a thing to put up for that too. Take that down. Where's it at? I know I got this. Damn it. Oh, well. Yeah, so go to yergz.com, YERGZ, and on the homepage there is the scrolling news items, the cool stuff for today, and you can get information about Limit Break Digital, Aroma by Peter. If you're looking for a credit card, go to Capital One, and don't just go to Capital One. Go to yergz.com, click that link get a recommendation from me to Capital One for you. So Capital One, the whole thing, what's in your wallet, make it me. And then also, if you're looking for internet, I'm not going to say who, but there was another company that used to be behind Studio Yergz from when I first moved here from LA. And no, they didn't work. Now I think I can actually message the International Space Station. And that's because I've got Frontier. If you're in the Tampa Bay area or wherever you can get Frontier internet, their fiber optic is amazing. And now they're offering something like 2K up and down. That means like the speed and how even more amazing it is. I've got the 1K and I can be streaming here. Right over there on the other side of this monitor is my son's desk. He can be gaming, which is streaming as well. And he does some pretty intense gaming. We can be watching TV in the other room at the same time. No issue whatsoever. My neighbors, they got the other guys. They're all complaining about buffering. Remember the dial-up days when you had to buffer? That's what they're still getting with the other guys. Lastly, Rumble. One of the stations or one of the platforms we're also on. If you're trying to do something very similar to this and you're not on Rumble yet, particularly if you're a homeless conservative, you can find a home on Rumble. And you can go to yergz.com and click that link to get a discount that way. So that's all of them. Again, visit Yergz, YERGZ.com. Let's bring everybody else back in. I think Matt's still in the bathroom. But there he is. Okay.
Why'd you throw me in?
Call him out.
Camera was still off. Yeah, exactly. Hey, you gotta go. You gotta
pooping.
Yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Gotta go.
So where we at? Lemonade. I love how so many. Not one more dime is their thing. The far right people that would rather support Putin than foreign aid to Ukraine. But apparently now it was signed, was it yesterday? Ukraine, Israel, and there's kind of a lump. I think we got to talk about this one. It's not Taiwan. It's like Southeast Asia or South Pacific, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's just the wording, but it's Taiwan. Right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, me being the government guy, and you know what? We didn't, I successfully skipped out on actually commenting about the Secret Service thing. Because I do have theories. So we'll have to revisit that. But I love how they leave things like very vague, plausible deniability, and the world is gray. But those three, and then also a ban for TikTok. And Blake, you said last week or the week before, it's not a total ban. China is forced to sell.
Yeah, it's got to be sold to a non-Chinese company within the year. A year.
What the two things about that that are interesting. One, our election is still going to be happening before that.
Yeah, China's got plenty of time to interfere using their platform.
Yeah, and Anthony Blinken just said it this morning.
Yeah.
That we see the same signs that we saw with Russia, and that it's bigger. Like they're more aggressive.
Because there's 173 million people using it or whatever. It's the TikTok thing is it's such an interesting litmus test because you could ask people what they feel about it, and it would depend if you asked them in 2017 or right now, because the whole crew of people when it was Donald Trump were for it. And now that Biden's the one signing it, those same people are against it, and vice versa. The people that were against it because it was Trump's thing are now for it because it's Biden's thing. It makes my head hurt, but I mean, I think it's the right move. I think
it's definitely the right move. I mean, look at what happened after they said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to ban it." China came over and was just like, "Oh, we're not giving you the algorithm, though." It's like, oh, yeah, you can still help out with the algorithm.
So we'll see what happens, but I don't
hide in there, buddy.
I don't
exactly. Isn't that kind of an admission? Yeah, exactly.
It's like I'm not going to show you the psyops we're doing, but
I don't think it's completely, because I really don't think the algorithm is the worst part. Now, I do think there are parts in the algorithm that are suppressing certain views and elevating other ones. That's less, everyone's copied this TikTok algorithm since it came out because it was pretty innovative. But so I get that they're going, well, you can't have our proprietary stuff if we don't get the company anymore. That's some normal stuff. But yeah, I think they are hiding stuff for sure.
Wasn't TikTok private before China bought it?
No.
I mean, not really.
No, it's always been a CCP. Yeah, the CCP is in. If you are a Chinese business, you have to give the CCP access to your software.
It really doesn't matter what company you are. If you're a tech company or you're a restaurant, CCP, they have access.
Tech specifically, they're going to do. And, some of those tech companies are also benefiting from China stealing our tech company tech and then letting those companies use it. So it's
Apple
nefarious all around.
Apple.
You saying they've stolen from everyone.
Apple has been making their stuff in China, and satellite photos prove this. They've had their factories in China. You work an 8-hour day building things for Steve Jobs and whoever we got now. Then you go right next door to a very identical plant and work another 8-hour day building the same thing for CCC.
CCP. Yeah, it's a mess.
This guy's calling out people for having two jobs. I mean, come on, man.
I think his point is not the people working. It's that the Chinese government is just stealing every tech that's made in China, which is why the State Department sort of quietly, not completely quietly, I mean, I know has been maybe not just the State Department, but certain government agencies are certainly trying to encourage large manufacturers to divest out of China, because I think they see that threat being not only to, privacy and all these other things that we talk about when we talk about TikTok, but also just to proprietary technology information that they're then stealing and using to try to compete. And it's not fair. I think the government should try to protect our American businesses better than they are as far as from that kind of stuff. And I just don't think it's
do you guys remember the In Living Color sketch about the Jamaican family with like the 47 part-time jobs? You lazy boy.
I love that show. That was my favorite show when I was a kid.
Anyway, hold on. I got two stories to tell you about China. As I lived there for a while. Right. So I knew this one person that was a senior executive at a large Fortune 500 company that had manufacturing in China. It was a tech company, did chips and things like that. I'm not gonna name the company, but legit, you'll know it if I said it. And they had a plant there, and they're part of doing business in there. And she told me this multiple times. It says, like, look, we have to give up our IP to China. And what they do is they have a two-tiered system. Is they have the stuff that they're actually developing and working on, and they have the other stuff that they're giving them, because they come into the office and they demand their IP. It's just the game that was played, So there was that. So it absolutely was happening. The second one is when I was developing one of the places that I worked at, and we were developing the website. You can have different servers, and the servers basically told you where you were going to have access to what kind of market. And so there was obviously I want to say it was QQ, which is the service, or maybe it was Alibaba, an Alibaba server, obviously a Chinese server. you could develop your website on in your e-commerce, or you can go overseas and do, AWS and something like that. The issue is because of the firewall, you would have either developing inside China using their servers, everybody from the outside really can't get into you. And if you develop it outside, everybody in China can't get out to it. So you had to make a strategic choice of who's your biggest customer and who are you going to basically handicap getting into your market. So it was very interesting. Look, they definitely have 100% control over everything that they're doing there. And so China, the divesting of TikTok to American companies is great, but I think we spoke about this last time about privacy. We just need to have basic privacy laws that protect people, because this is just honestly a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, and it bums me out that we waited till this long, because it will not. It will. You're right. The election's going to happen, and China's going to have access not just through the election, but through inauguration and through for a year from now. So I think that it's kind of little. I'm glad it happened, but it's too little too late. This should have happened in 2018. Honestly, we should have had this before the 2020
happened in
election.
2004 when when Facebook started mining everybody's data. Come on.
Well, I meant the TikTok thing specifically. Like 2017, they had like 15 million users, 10x that now. I think that we could have nipped this. It wouldn't have been the gigantic thing. It's also super hypocritical, by the way, that the Biden administration is calling, TikTok's dangerous, all this stuff, but they're still on TikTok. I would say you need to put your money where your mouth is, and get off TikTok.
Got a comment from YouTube over here. Said UC student says, "Who are these folks? Who are you, UC student? You got a question?" Anyway, continue, Yergs.
Yeah. Join us. 1-888-88 Yergs. I got to put that back up. And we got to move on to the next one anyway. So next up is 44.6%. And like I admitted, I didn't get a chance to read that one, but I do want to talk about it. So capital gains. What happens when you actually need to sell something for financial necessary reasons, and you got to give half of it away for capital gains?
So here's my thing, and I have 3 buckets that I kind of want to put this into, and let's see if it works for my homeless conservative friend over here. Look, when they're talking about capital gains, I understand what people are trying to do here. So let's pick 3 buckets here. The first bucket was talk about what the people are trying to do, or what legislators are trying to do. UC student, I'll get back to your comment in a minute. Go in a second. So the one is that they're saying there are people out there with wealthy people that are trying to skirt, taxation, and try to play games with the system so they don't pay anything, and so they can hoard all their money themselves. That is absolutely what happens, and they can leverage different things that they didn't sell, if it's stock or equity or whatever in their companies or values, to take loans out at a low interest rate and then live off of that. And this is actually exactly what happens. I mean, look at how Elon Musk bought Twitter. Is he leveraged a lot of his stock to get a big loan to buy Twitter. And so there is a way of escaping taxes with this. And so what they're trying to do here is they're trying to say, hey, all you people that are trying to dodge the taxes and not pay your fair share, we're going to find a way to do that. And that's why they're trying to think of new systems. But the problem is when you're introducing these new ways, is you're not only talking about a slippery slope, but you're also talking about, I guess, affecting people that aren't these very wealthy people.
Exactly.
The other, so that's one group, the very wealthy people that are trying to dodge taxes. The 2 other people we talk about is, one, the mom and pop, the average investor, the retail investor, and so on and so forth, that might get a come up. Look, if you were back in 2020 and you put, let's just say 50 grand in the GameStop and you became a millionaire, that's paying off your mortgage, that's your retirement, and so on and so forth. I would never, ever, and I hope everybody agrees with me, that you do not tax the average person that got a come up and now it finally has a decent, comfortable retirement 50% on their capital gains, when they put probably all their savings into something, right? So if you're somebody who makes $75,000 a year or something, and you have 50 grand in the bank, and you decide to put 30 grand toward Tesla, and it goes up, that is 100% your risk. And if you lose 30 grand, you're pretty much screwed, because saving 30 grand is a hard task for a lot of people, especially with family and mortgages and so on and so forth. So that is not cool for those people. Second group of people is the people that are using their wealth to actually invest in businesses and VC and capital and angel investments and so on and so forth, and putting money back into the community, and charities and nonprofits and so on and so forth. There are plenty of wealthy people that aren't trying to dodge their taxes, but also trying to invest in different ways to grow things, to build things, and to help people achieve their goals. And so I think there's three baskets that are not being answered by this proposal, saying 46 points or 44.6% capital gains and 25% unrealized gains with over $100 million net worth, because it's not actually telling you what they're doing with their money. And there is responsible use of capital, and there are plenty of people doing that. And to tax them like this, I think is absolutely wrong, criminal, pretty kind of communist in my opinion. But what do you think, Blake?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing, I think you're right about most of that, is that, like, first of all, this is a pipe dream. This is not going to happen. This is just Biden signaling to his voting base that he wants to tax billionaires. You hit on some really good nuance there, in the sense that, like, capital gains is, everyone does this. You've got a 401k, your tax capital gains. If you've got a house, you would fall under this. If you've got any kind of real estate investments, you're right. It doesn't talk about the difference between, like, investing in a venture capitalist kind of thing and, like, supporting a business versus the stock market. It's just way too broad. It's way too high. It's more than doubling the current capital gains tax. What bothers me the most about this, though, is the White House's and the press. And I'm going to go ahead and lump all the left in with this, because to me, to not call it out is not being honest. Is the sense that in the State of the Union, he said billionaires only pay, he said 3%. Sometimes in the State of the Union, he said 8%. This is based on his administration's Council of Economic Advisors, and they're getting that number, which is ridiculous, by adding up all of the unrealized gains, which means, like, their house, any kind of thing. And then they're taking that whole sum and then saying, well, this is what they paid. They only paid 8% of what they earned. That's not true at all. The billionaires pay a 45% income tax rate or whatever, or 37%, I guess, is what the top rate is right now. And they pay 20% on capital gains currently. They pay taxes, and any of the skirting around it is legal. We're not accusing, Biden's not accusing these people of doing anything illegal. Congress can change these laws if they want to. They can change the tax rate. They can change the loophole.
They're not going to do that because they're all a part of it.
Right, but that's my problem with it. They're vilifying people for following the law, and I don't like that. I don't think being a billionaire makes you good or bad. I think money is a tool, and I think the vilification of people that have made money is wrong. I think we should want more people to be. We have more millionaires than we did before. We have more billionaires than we did before. We also have more 100,000-aires. I don't know if that's what we call them, than we did before. That's good. That means our economy is doing well. I just don't like that they're putting this on the back, pretending billionaires or millionaires. And by the way, they talk about billionaires. These thresholds for this capital gains stuff he's talking about is at $1 million on long-term capital gains. There's a lot of houses that are worth that much now, and so
yes,
across the country.
Can I jump in really quick there? Yes, you're 100% right. $1 million, and that's what really upsets me, is because the average American right now says that they need $1.5 million to retire comfortably.
Right.
We're talking about at 65 with Social Security and stuff like that. And so we are getting more and more expensive in the United States. And so if you're saying that my capital gains is going to be, or even a proposal for Biden, this is why it's so myopic. A proposal that says the average person that might work their whole life retires and says the average that they need is $1.5 million. And then you're going to say, I'm going to take 44% of that. It is absolutely insulting to people who are working to get to that retirement, that comfortable retirement. And we're not talking about we have $10 million, $50 million, and multiple houses in the Hamptons and stuff. We're talking about I'm going to stay in my house, and hopefully my property taxes don't go up too much, so I can stay in my house. This is not extreme, right? So you're 100% right about that. And the second thing I do want to say is, when you're at that $1 million point, right? And by the way, the $1 million is with joint filing. And separate filings is 500,000, and so I would assume that is for individuals as well. If I'm a single guy,
I still need $1 million to be able to retire fully, and I don't have that. That's why I got to do this.
Right.
Well, hopefully you like to do that, and you like to hang out with us, Jerry. You're really making us feel like crap right now. Thank you. But let me finish my point before you just belittle me and ruin my self-esteem. But
lefties.
Yeah, I'm offended.
Come on, Snowflake. Speaking of wrapping up, we actually got to wrap up, so do that.
Oh, well, 1 minute warning. Anyway, I'm done. Fine. You get it.
All right. Well, my theory about the whole Secret Service thing is this. This happened at Joint Base Andrews in what's called the DV Lounge, Distinguished Visitor, the VIP space, like if you're at United in their lounge. And the agent apparently just started rambling incoherently, and then assaulted one of the bosses, which is never a good career move. And to restrain the person, again, I don't know if it was a male or female agent,
It was a female agent. There's only one person reporting that it's a female agent. Everyone else is being mum, but it wasn't.
I didn't see that yet. Okay.
Yeah, Real Clear Politics has it, has the name and everything, and has her history and stuff. That's
I got to check that. Yeah,
that's where my concern came from, Jurg, is that this is coming from an angle of this is they want that 30 for 30 thing where they want 30% of police forces to be female by a certain reason. And what they're saying is this person never would have made it to the Secret Service because of her prior history.
I can tell you a story about that. I have a friend of mine that was supposed to be on Bush's inauguration page where he would have been on the photo. You know, when they get the big photo of the agents walking down the street surrounding the president. He was removed because he was a white male.
Yeah, and I just think
that's flat out.
I just think we I don't love Kamala Harris, but I think we need to take very seriously the people that we put around her to protect her. That would be a disastrous thing if something happened to our president or vice president.
Don't get me started.
We shouldn't have people
next week. Yeah, because I'm happy to be retired. We'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys. Well done. 1490 WWPR. Thanks for joining us today. You'll hear this again on 99.1 WDJY and anytime on Jurg's Radio. Find it at jurgsradio.com and anywhere else you get internet radio. Growing every day, every week. Guys, have a great weekend. And there's a link. We'll put that in the show notes. And we'll see you again. Oh, there it is. I got to cue this up again. I need a producer.
Again, lunchtime, happy hour, the debates begin. Blakers and Matt spinning tracks and facts on WPR where the spectrum's at. Blake's on the streets with a view so bold. A homeless conservative story's gold. Talks of freedom, dreams in his pack. On the airwaves, he's got no lack. Yerk's in the middle, keeps it tight. A moderate voice in the left-right fight. Balancing views with a calm composure. Breaking it down from every exposure. Then there's Matt from the left, he hails. Democrat dreams in his sails. Pushing for change in his every word. On the air, every voice is heard.
Are we still live?
Dreams. No, but we can be. I mean, we are, but I'm about to shut it down. We're not with 1490 anymore.
Oh, okay. We're just on Jurg's radio.
Jurg's.
And
social media. Just Jurg's.
Do you guys connect that?
Oh, I did, but I forgot to do it today. I did it last week. I connected, but I don't think it remembers it. I think I need to actually create an account and I sign in with here because I've noticed it's bad channels.
I'll do my YouTube next week. I keep forgetting. I have to get her earlier. Apparently, UC student was hanging out. Might be still hanging out still. Actually, she's like, "Who are these folks?" And he's like, "I didn't mean to be insulting." That was hilarious. So he's like, hey, bro, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, I put it in there, and we got a couple people still watching, and we're still on your video too. But so my thing about that,
you want to finish your point, by the way, about your.
I'm curious about what you think.
Yeah, we'll do it on a slightly less than public platform.
Yeah, even if we're not on the radio.
So I got to look up this. Well, let me do that because I'll tell you if I know her.
Herczeg. It's a weird last name, or unique. I've not heard it before.
Herzog.
No, Herczeg.
Oh wow, okay, that's weird.
Like Herczeg.
Several sources in the Secret Service community identified the agent who physically attacked her superior as Michelle Herczeg. No, I don't know her.
The other weird thing to me, this always happens when these things happen. The initial report was that the agent had stripped down, like out of their clothes. That's not in any of the newer reporting I saw, but the initial stuff that came out had that as a detail before they had even said. They were just saying the agent all the time. And it wasn't until this Real Clear Politics one came out that actually named the agent and stuff. And it sounds like it was a medical situation. I mean, it sounds like she was incoherently speaking and stuff, but that's kind of scary, right? I mean,
I'm still not understanding what's the beef? What's the problem? What's going on? I don't understand.
I think the beef is that there's someone that's on Vice President Kamala Harris's detail that went crazy and attacked a superior, had a mental breakdown on the job. It sounds like, and armed, obviously, while this
in public, while she was with the VP.
She went with the VP.
The VP was still back at the Naval Observatory, which is DC residence for the sitting vice president. But what this is saying, this is everything else that I've heard too. This is new, that she grabbed another agent's phone and began deleting applications on it.
That was before the fight, and I guess he had just
Yeah.
let it go when he got the phone back, and then she was hiding behind curtains and yelling and throwing a
Wait,
pencil pad at
this
someone.
this sounds like a bad relationship.
No, this was because it was multiple agents involved. This wasn't just one.
Yeah.
It was she grabbed one agent's phone, she threw a menstrual pad at another agent, and then she attacked her superior agent when he tried to confront her about the other behavior. So it was
But
three
did you
different
say she
agents.
threw at another agent?
A menstrual
Wait, used or
tampon?
wrapped up?
That didn't specify. It
Wow.
didn't specify.
Yeah, they're not putting that one in here either.
But the problem is the
you
interesting
don't-
thing for me.
If that was the sack of the VP detail, that's somebody you don't touch. If I was in the VP detail and I was talking to the SAC,
What's the sack?
because SAC is SAIC. It stands for Special Agent in Charge.
Okay.
That person is not even on my pay grade.
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, pay scale.
Yeah.
I'm on the GS pay scale. As a hump agent, I level off at GS 13. My boss, they named the shift leader in here. That's a GS 14. The ASAC, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, is a GS 15. But the Deputy Special Agent in Charge and the Special Agent in Charge of the President and Vice President's detail are on what's called Senior Executive Service, or SES, the same pay scale that the cabinet members are on.
Yeah, so this isn't like the
That's not
advanced
somebody you
team
screw
getting in a fight at a bar. This doesn't sound like
Right.
alcohol. It was in the morning. It was 9 a.m. It's probably
Yeah.
not alcohol. I mean, it could be, obviously. But I think the problem that I see with it is that, okay, if you're trying to hire more women, and I'm just going to assume fewer women apply to be in the Secret Service than men, right? And I bet not even at a 30%, which is what they're trying to get the workforce to. Sounds like she had a police-involved shooting while she was in Dallas. She also sued the department for some sort of sexual harassment thing. They couldn't find anything for it. So it sounds like there are, my point, the thing I read was this person would never get accepted, man, woman, no matter what, with this prior history, because they've got a high enough number of people trying to get into the agency that they don't need to even roll the dice on someone that had a police-involved shooting before in their past or something. And so to me, it just seems like it could, if it is a diversity hire, it's I'm all for having more women, but not if they're not applying at the level that the men are.
That's what pisses me off, is that I've worked for some women bosses and had some women colleagues that were some of the best agents you could possibly find.
Of course.
And this makes them look horrible.
Right. And I'm not saying women can't be Secret Service agents. I'm just saying we should hold everyone to the exact same standards. We should not lower the Marines, qualifications so that women can get into it. If they can, if they can hit the qualifications, let's do it. I think women are better at some of these jobs than men are. Like fighter pilots, for example, they're proving to be better fighter pilots because they're better at multitasking. They're generally the right size that you need to be a fighter pilot. And, so this is not me trying to keep women out of any sort of armed kind of thing. Although in general, I feel better about a dude taking a bullet for the president or vice president than a woman. Just maybe call me old fashioned on that one. But this sounds this is pretty scary to be that close to the vice president and have this kind of mental episode where you've got a gun on your hip.
I'm calling. There's more to the story.
I think there is too.
We're not gonna get there is way more to the story. I mean, look, it could be cut and it could be cut and dry that somebody just lost their shit. Absolutely fine, But there seems like there's a lot of little details that are in between these lines here, and now they're trying to make a narrative. There's definitely a narrative that already went out that says, "Hey, this is what's happening, and we're gonna put it in this box over here."
Well, what's funny
I call bullshit.
What's funny is the narrative, really, every other press other than this Real Clear Politics one is just repeating the thing the Secret Service has put out that says it was a mental health thing. We're not talking anymore about it. They won't release the name. And that's it. That's all every other news service is doing. Right. But like I said, originally we got more details and then they all pared those back. And then this is the only one I've found so far that actually has, people like sources and saying names and actually giving some details and corroborating that evidence. So it's just interesting to me because I think it's Secret Service has had some problems in the past, like the Obama thing. It mentions it in this article too, where he was in an elevator with an armed security guard that wasn't supposed to, like, was not authorized to be arrested. You know what I mean? So there's some things where I'm like,
we're finally realizing that we can't do this alone. So the fact that there's going to be other armed people, you're in an elevator. My Kali instructor, Kali is Filipino street fighting, and that's the martial art that I took.
that sounds awesome.
My Kali instructor told me that if you can't fight in a telephone booth, you can't fight. Blake, a telephone booth was this square thing that.
Oh no, I know what a telephone booth is.
You're kind of a big dude. Can you even fit in a telephone booth?
You
I don't know. It's a squeeze, but so if that guard in an elevator would have done something stupid, that would have been the last thing that he remembered.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, but it does.
As a side agent, I would rather have him be comfortable with a weapon. I've been faced with that. Trump's last inaugural ball, I was a site agent for that. And it was at a place in DC called the National Building Museum. And they have armed security.
Yeah.
And I was told to make sure that they, weren't wearing during the ball. And I was just like, come on. We want to get help from all these people.
Right.
And then you tell them not to help us.
Yeah.
And that particular security department or security agency strongly vets their people. They had quality people on who also got it. They're used to being told that by us.
Yeah.
So they were already preparing for that. I told them they had their own down room, like their own break area. Without breaking any of your policy, keep your shit available.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, you're right.
That statement alone built or repaired a stronger bridge between the two agencies.
Yeah.
With this, all these at the bottom of it, there's a guy that I don't like too much who is a snake, and that's Ronald Kessler. He's an investigative journalist who says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to write a really positive, awesome book for you about your agency. Let me come behind closed curtains and see what you got going on." And then he writes about all the shit.
Yeah.
He did that to the CIA. He did that to us. He did that to us a couple times, I think. And that's not how. If I'm gonna write about your skeletons, I'm gonna tell you. I said, look, I got some shit here.
Yeah.
I want to give you the chance to answer to it. Otherwise, I got to go with what I got.
Yeah, but is it fair for him, because he's the one that's saying that, like, the agency would not have hired someone with that dismissed discrimination lawsuit?
Not true. If it would have been dismissed, or if it would have had any other merit that she could have at least brought it forward, and hey, it was dismissed, the courts didn't agree, okay, fine, and they know what they're getting. Might have been kind of a strike against her.
Yeah.
That she brought it. Yeah. If she's going to bitch, they don't want somebody that's going to bitch.
What about a police involved shooting where they claim?
Okay, well, back to the lawsuit first.
Yeah.
I'm seeing here that she started in, like, I think I saw somewhere that she started with us in 2016.
I didn't see a start date.
I saw 2016 somewhere, and I want to say that's where she started with us. She is
2016. She was with the Dallas Police Force.
Okay, so even less than that. I hope that she is in the Washington field office and not actually one of the agents on the detail, and that's probably what it is. And I say that because just like any other place a protectee goes, Joint Base Andrews is a site.
Yeah.
That's not protected by the detail. The vice president is protected by the detail.
Right.
Any site they go anywhere in the world is protected by that local field office. So she's probably from what's called WFO, or Washington Field Office. And because she's got nowhere near enough time to actually be on the detail yet.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. It doesn't say when she started, but I mean, it does say that there was a Texas Court of Appeal affirmed the lower court's decision in 2021 and denied a rehearing in 2022. I don't know if that means she was still with the police force then or not.
The issue right there. If she was with the department then and she just came to us in even more recent years, fine. It's closed before coming to us. But back in my day, if she was with us then, but the court was still, it was still in court, it was still an open matter in court,
You wouldn't hire that person, right?
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And that's
so, I mean,
just because that's not because, oh, we don't want a person like that.
no, but it's just
When you have a top secret security clearance,
Yeah.
you got to be squeaky clean.
Yeah.
And it's not that there aren't issues with you. Like I was in a lawsuit in DC. I sued my mortgage company for fraud.
Yeah.
I actually won.
Yeah.
And because I said, until you fix your shit, I'm not paying you anything.
Yeah.
And of course, now they said they're not wrong, and they dinged my credit, and my credit was bad for a while. And I had to tell the Secret Service about that.
Yeah.
Because when they do my 5-year update, they're going to see it anyway.
Right. But that's not you suing your previous employer, though. That's probably a significant.
Even if it was, there's plenty of there's whistleblower protection. Yeah. I've locked horns with bosses. I was investigated 3 times during my career just for being gay. That's illegal. But
wait. Was it with people in Belize with their own islands with the winery?
No,
I mean,
no.
Red flags are red flags, sir.
Nothing there. But yeah, if this was still an ongoing thing, then Kessler's right. We've lowered our standards, and we've done it before.
Yeah.
We now allow you to have experimented with drugs that when I was recruited, you weren't even allowed to be able to spell.
Yeah.
Let alone have experimented with.
Yeah.
Because if you knew how to spell that stuff, that was a red flag.
Yeah. It's weird.
You know what Molly is? Why
Yeah.
do you know what Molly is?
It's interesting because, and then we had the thing during was it during Trump when the guy jumped the fence and got in the White House before they figured it out? I just
forget.
We had a few of those things where it's like,
he got inside the front door and he was tackled by an agent who I think was off duty.
Yeah, I mean, but there's just been a few of these things where you go like, oh, I just feel like we didn't, and maybe the press is in a different state than it was 20 years ago in the sense that, but I don't feel like they're like looking for these kind of stories. I mean, like a guy jumps the fence and gets in the White House. That's a story. That's a story.
I've been approached plenty of times by various members of major networks. Hey, if you got anything, we'll keep it down.
Yeah, this worries me because how devastating would it be if something bad, whether it's a mistake or oversight or just bad agents or something, what if this lady had gone crazy and was with Kamala Harris? I'm just saying, like, there are all sorts of, she's got a gun on her. Like, obviously this is a situation where I think it's really serious. And I think there should be accountability in the sense that we should go, I'm all for hiring more, but if we hire unqualified people because they're a woman, I just think that's a bad, or anything. Pick the minority.
Do you know what the number? You don't know what the number is, so I'm just going to tell you. Of everybody that applies and gets involved into by the way, more than a year-long hiring process.
Right. A lot of vetting, I would hope.
The number of people that become a Secret Service agent are less than 1 in 1,000.
That apply, basically?
No, out of 1,000 applications, you won't even take one of them.
Yeah, and so that's like
less than 1 in 1,000 applications become an agent.
Yeah, and so I don't care what you look like. I don't care. I want the best of that 1,000 applications. I want that one to be the most qualified.
Why is this such a hard thing to like really to do? Like, we want the best of people. I don't understand why this is a thing.
People are, because the best of people don't want to become Secret Service agents. They want to become postal inspectors. They want to become any other place that makes the same amount of money as we do.
That works 9 to 5.
That works.
What'd you say, Blake? I know this is
He doesn't have to take a bullet for anyone. Yeah, no one's asking the postmaster general to do that or whatever.
Do you know how many places I've been in the world that are actually?
Wait, Jurgs, I got a question for you. Who's been killed more, people in the post office or people in the Secret Service? Who's taking more bullets?
Agents?
I would say depend on the method. because I have 9 people in my life who have committed suicide.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay.
7 are within the law enforcement community. 6 are from the Secret Service.
Yeah, that's something that like I don't think gets talked about enough. And I think all that matters. And I think it's but like we should want the best of the best, and we should also look, I mean, look at post January 6th even. You had some PTSD of the officers that were there after January 6th, and some of them did commit
Oh, yeah.
suicide. Like
Yeah.
I think that like I don't like that like the abortion debate. I don't think the law enforcement debate is good enough right now in America. I think that we tend to go to our little corners of like thin blue line on one side and defund the police on the other. And we don't really talk about how like, it's
Which
a
is also
pretty
so
thankless job.
It's also so hypocritical. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that she backs the blue, and then she's calling people that were on January 6th tourists that were now hostages.
There were people beating police officers with blue line flags.
Meanwhile,
irony.
name one Republican president that overrode a crime bill.
Overwrote or wrote one?
Wrote one.
Yeah. I mean,
there aren't any.
Yeah, so to me, I think we've got to have a law enforcement conversation in the country too, and this is maybe not the way to trigger it, but it is one of those things where I wish police did a better job at policing themselves. I also wish we took our Fourth Amendment rights more seriously, but I feel like we're just swinging way too far to extremes.
I got a question for both of you guys. Because we're talking about merit, right? Actually, there's this one book by I was not talking about that, but we're talking about merit. Do you think that a capable woman should be able to play in the NFL?
If she was qualified,
if she could hang, she can
hang, sure. And I think that someone would do that, but it's not physically possible because.
Well, hey, I'm not saying what's physically possible.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because that's a dismissive statement right there. But if they can hang, should they?
Sure, but I mean, it's like,
you've got to realize that there are just plain and simple physical differences between a man and a woman. That's why I don't think trans women, male to female women, should be, as the one story was, swimming with other female athletes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I'm like, do what you want to do if you're an adult, but like we shouldn't let like it's ruining like Title IX said, hey, we think that women should have sports the same, and some people
actually had a story on that one today too, by the way.
And then now you've got all these dads that are really proud of their daughters who are excelling at athletics, and all of a sudden they're being told, well, now your daughter has to compete against someone who is biologically male and had
the NCAA took that back. They rescinded it.
But not exact. I mean, not really. They even just the optics of it with the Leah Thomas thing, they were like, you guys tied, which is, by the way, doesn't get talked about enough that the what's her name actually tied a biological male in a swimming competition, but it's because he wasn't that great of a swimmer. Honestly, he was like 450th or whatever before he transitioned.
So, he was on a good day. That happened at my one ex's alma mater, which was Penn, in Philadelphia. And on a good day, dude, as he was then, was getting maybe 4th place.
Yeah, he was ranked. Yeah, he was ranked 450th or whatever.
Then he identifies, and I say identifies, and I'm not going to be gentle towards the trans community about this because I know trans people. My co-host on the other show has a trans daughter and a trans brother, meaning that's what they're identifying as now.
I got black friends.
No, that's not. I get what you're saying. This is not vilifying. Yeah.
The guy. And I'm going to leave it at the guy who was identifying as the female for the University of Penn would be changing in the women's locker rooms after he's now identified accordingly with all the male parts down below.
Yeah, there's been no...
And he's walking around with no towel. They're walking around in the same way. And they're like, this is a dude pulling some college stunt to get in with the chicks.
Yeah, it feels gross to me, but yeah, I'm all for like women being in all of these things or any kind of minority. And I'm even for there are some situations where, like, I don't think this is so much now, but there are some situations where it's like, okay, we have excluded a group from something for too long. You go back to like Jim Crow South and stuff like that. I'm for saying, you know what, we need to do better about trying. Like, now I don't like the NFL's rule of like, let's just, all you have to do is interview a black coach and you check it off the box and that's your diversity thing, is like, oh, we interviewed a black coach. I'm all for like trying to hire and diversify, although I'm always more interested in diversity of thought. And I mean, that's one reason I do like the idea of having women in law enforcement and things like that, because I think that there are differences between the sexes. There just are. And like, I'm not saying
we all
everyone's
bring different things to the table.
Yeah, but yeah, and so
I spent a lot of my protection time on Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
But in the 3 years I was with her, I went into a ladies' room with her one time.
Yeah.
Because we had female agents.
Yeah. And like,
I'm not saying that's the only reason why you bring female agents.
Right, but women even have a more like
they're
seeing this in the military and stuff. Like, the women are better empathizers generally than the men, and so they're picking up on emotional cues of people they're talking to way more, especially when they're translators or things like that, than the men are. And there's just some differences. So it's like, I'm all for it when your strengths are your strengths, but like, we've got to be able to say that there are strengths and weaknesses, and that's okay. I think I'm just tired of everyone pretending that we're all the exact same. We're not. I'm all for like diversity of thought, diversity of, although skin color doesn't really, I don't feel like that's a good diversity thing. I'm more interested in the culture of your skin. Like, because like, I don't like that we put black people all in the same boat. It's like a black person that lives in Atlanta is different than a black person that lives in LA is different than, and Latino, we do this with way more even. It's like Guatemalan people don't have the same culture as Mexican people. Lumping them together is actually kind of gross.
Mexican and Puerto Rican.
Yeah, Mexican, Puerto Rican. Like, sometimes these people don't even like each other. It's like
living in my neighborhood.
Yeah, and even white people. It's like white people in the hills of West Virginia are not the same as like white people in Beverly Hills. Like, so when we try to like put these things on skin color, I think it's stupid. But I think you can look at people's experiences and bring them into law enforcement and stuff, or any job really. I mean, across the board. And I think that you can benefit from it, but we shouldn't be lowering the standards to do that. If you have standards, like the NFL, if you got to run
if you have standards, he says, I love that.
I mean, like, because like some jobs do. I mean, like McDonald's doesn't have a some high bar you got to get over.
For example, the NFL actually has female officials now.
Yeah.
And has for like 2 or 3 years.
Right. And NBA as well.
Yeah.
NBA as well. Major League Baseball tried it years ago when I was a minor league umpire. And there is a physical issue, and that's eyesight.
Yeah.
And eye-to-hand coordination. They
with who? With what?
Male to female. Female umpires have been found to be laser sharp accuracy behind home plate.
Which is why they're better at being fighter pilots too sometimes. Like, statistically, than men, is because they can do their reaction times or something.
You mean better than Angel Hernandez?
Oh, and again, anybody's better than that, dude. I mean, it's time to go. Give him some good games, and then say, hey, congratulations on his actual name is Angel. He's Cuban,
right?
And it's actually pronounced Angel. And that's the joke, is that in hell is where everybody's at when he's umpiring.
I went to a minor league game here in Oklahoma City the other day. I've not been to a baseball game forever, and they're doing the like robot thing, the AI doing the pitching.
Oh, wow.
I heard about that.
Are you pro or con, Yergs?
Absolutely. I'm not even for the replay in baseball anymore. It's worked very well in hockey. Hockey has actually, I believe, mastered it.
I think NHL's nailed it. Yeah.
As has perhaps, and I'm not a big fan of the sport in general, but as has perhaps the NFL. And I don't
watch much NFL, honestly. I don't pay enough attention.
Baseball has ruined the game.
Well, I mean, but don't you think I'm okay with a robot calling strikes and balls just because it's going to be more accurate than a human. But are you still anti that?
Yeah.
You get the accuracy.
Is for my whole life in baseball, nobody went by the rule book for what the strike zone is. It's, Matt Deemer's got the dish today. We know he's a little wider. He calls the corners better. Okay. Now the pitcher's going to know, okay, I can hit the corners today.
I guess that just bothers me.
Batters know.
I'd rather have a hard rule.
Batters know. I got to get the bat off my back.
Yeah, but Blake, there isn't a hard rule when it comes to the strike box.
Well, but there is based on the height.
I mean, based on your size, the way you stand, your stance, the way you hold. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it. I mean, it's kind of like
right, but I mean, but like a computer can do that better than a human, though, because it can account for all those things, right? I mean, I'm not saying
unless,
I want it everywhere,
unless it's a little person.
But on things like the strike zone, on things like the line in tennis, the ball, like those kind of things that are like.
Well, the line in tennis is definitely without question a more of a yes or no. But here's the thing where I think they screwed up with baseball is you get all these challenges and you can what they're doing now is they're really nickel and diming tag plays.
Yeah.
I just saw one last week. They challenged one at third base and they reversed the call. Guy stealing third base, ball's there, tags down, gloves up in the air, umpire bangs him out. Offensive team challenges it. Goes back to headquarters in New York and they're reviewing. And the camera was able to show that the ball that was there way before the runner in the fielder's hand, in the glove, as he went down to tag the runner, never touched the runner.
Yeah.
They called him safe.
Well, here's my other opinion about that.
Was he safe?
Bullshit.
He was safe.
How?
But don't you
He
think
was safe?
Here's my theory on NBA specifically, but I think it can apply to baseball too. I know we've totally gone off track, but it is interesting. But I think that we've got all these replay
This ain't part of the real show anyway, so
why not just have a ref in the replay center that is in the ear in every sport, like a fourth ref in the NBA that's basically like, you actually got that wrong. You don't have to go to replay. You don't have to challenge. It's just another ref that's just not on the floor. They're in the replay center and can be like, hey, I just saw that on 7 different angles and it's actually this. And they just change it.
That's where the NHL got it right.
Yeah.
It used to be, I know because I sat in it once. There used to be an off-ice official who was up in a press box by themselves, nobody allowed in.
Yeah.
In fact, I had to have an ID around, saying, hey, I belong here. The guy who was the replay official for that game, it was a Flyers game when I was still up in Philly, was one of the amateur referees that he was my boss.
Yeah.
For amateur ice hockey. And he was local to Philadelphia and he had buddies and he got the replay job. They review every single goal.
Yeah.
Regardless of how cut and dry it looks, they review every single goal.
And now they do that in Toronto and just blow the horn if they need to stop play. And it's great. I love it because I'd rather know for sure.
The replays for both baseball and hockey are in New York. They used to do it at the arena. Like I said, I sat there in the old Philadelphia Spectrum, or maybe it was the First Union Center, then the new place. I sat there with a guy, but then at whatever point, I don't know when, they moved it to their headquarters in New York. It's actually not Toronto.
I thought it was Toronto. Is that am I getting confused?
It's in Manhattan.
Okay.
Both baseball and NHL. I think they're actually in the same building. But they're in Midtown Manhattan. And that official is the vice president of hockey operations. He sits there with a team in a place like, I got 3 monitors here with me. They use that for one game. It's like a big call center that every single angle from every single game being played gets piped to.
When was that? Because 5 years ago it was in Toronto, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. But
I'm just like listening to a podcast over here. I'm just over here, just sitting just chilling, listening to a podcast. So I'm gonna get out of here. But one thing I want to say about this. You know what ruined it all? It's not that we're getting the challenge in baseball or all that stuff. You know what? Those that's good. It's the betting. Betting ruined it.
Totally Totally agree, Matt. In fact, I think the biggest problem, I think we're going to see, we already saw it. An NBA player got a lifetime ban because he was betting on himself, and he was basically leaving games early.
But this is also why we're getting so scrutinized on these calls, and we're getting because of the amount of money that is now in here from lobbying from DraftKings and whatever 365 bet and all this stuff, and then you have all these individual people on there, Otani, thanks Eric, going, but now you have all these individuals that are betting on every aspect of the game with a lot of money, getting there and giving you social media rage because of the call and all that. Betting screwed it all up.
I think it's going to ruin sports because I think it's so incestuous now that ESPN has a bet thing. I think it's
Poor Pete Rose, indeed.
There's no way it's not going to cause, like, we already have one in NBA. Here's a player that's got a lifetime ban. I think you're going to start seeing it at higher levels because that's just a two-way player. You're going to start seeing
the NBA guy. Is that Otani? Is that the NBA guy?
No, Otani is a Dodger. You don't know who Otani is?
Oh yeah. No, I don't. But he's like the most.
You don't know who Shohei Otani is?
He's the only baseball player I know his name because I don't watch baseball. I guess I know a couple.
Eric Reed, you can turn this off right now. Yerks does not know who Shohei Otani is. The Babe Ruth of our generation.
You're totally right, though, Matt. I think I was just talking about this the other day with my friend at that baseball game. I was like, I think this betting culture is going to ruin all professional sports. I think all sports, actually. I think it will. I think we'll have a bunch of scandals. People will stop thinking it's fair because it won't be. I think we've got that many interests and that much money on the line. They're going to start. They're going to start changing stuff. I think.
See, and Eric's actually saying my point is that all these DraftKings and all these things are sponsoring the MLB.
Yep.
They need these calls to be 100% accurate. You have a lot of money, billions and billions and billions. Just in Ohio, there's billions of dollars being pumped out of this state because of sports betting now is legal. And so you have then the retail investors coming in here. I'm sorry, gamblers, retail investors. Just the mom and pop gamblers coming in here, and they're literally blowing up social media, and they're writing people. They're writing these athletes. They're being really assholes because of this betting. So the league is now pressured by the companies and the fans to make sure that they're getting these calls 100% spot on to the microsecond or whatever because of whatever bets that are being placed and whatever spread they have. So bro, they're screwing it, man. That's where it is. It went from fun to a business.
Yeah, I guarantee we will see within the next 10 years, if this betting continues on the pace, you'll see a real big league scandal where some sort of GM is doing it, or some higher ups in organizations, or even within the NFL, NBA, one of those organizations themselves that are rigging this kind of stuff, because there's too much money on the table for them not to, and someone's going to fall prey to that incentive structure. It's just inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to say it's not about the challenges. It's not about the rules. It's not about the camera. It's about the betting and with the money and the incentives behind it all. That's what's screwing it all up. And that's why they're getting so crazy about it.
I think that's a pretty good point. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about the connection between those two, but yeah, they are. And meanwhile, they still can't get it right because the NBA had to come out and admit that they blew that Sixers game the other night, in multiple ways. That 2-minute report came out. So still going to happen. People are going to make mistakes for sure, but I think that's the other problem is now with the betting stuff, that human element is people are going to assume there's a nefarious background on it. You know what I mean? They're going to go, oh, well, they rigged the game. I mean, there's always all these things about the NFL being a scripted thing, which I think is ridiculous. It's not scripted. I think pretty clearly you're not going to get that many people keeping that secret. But
is wrestling scripted?
I think a little bit. Yeah. Just a little bit. All right. I got to go, guys.
Yeah, I got to go too. See ya.
All right, everybody. All right. I'll talk to you all again. Later, buddy.